Hello, and thank you for joining us for another edition of Rail Rangers on the Road. Every month, the Midwest Rail Rangers take you to an interesting and unique railroad destination across the Midwest, including places in Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Michigan, Minnesota, Missouri, and Wisconsin. The Midwest Rail Rangers, a 501c3 nonprofit, was founded in 2015 to provide onboard educational programs across the Midwest. Perhaps you have caught us on select weekends on the South Shore Line between Chicago and South Bend, Indiana, on private rail excursions featuring dome cars and other heritage rail equipment, Amtrak charters and motor coach trips organized by the 20th Century Railroad Club of Chicago, open house events at the Wisconsin Great Northern Railroad featuring the Sky Parlour car and the Mark Twain Zephyr, and at various outreach events such as Train Fest in Milwaukee and Mad City Rail in Madison, Wisconsin. And now mark your calendar for the first Sunday night of every month at 7 p.m. Central Time for Rail Rangers on the Road. Without further ado, here is this month's program. Well, hello everybody, and thanks for joining us for another one of our Rail Rangers virtual education programs. I'm Rail Rangers President Robert Tabern here with you. It is Sunday, January 23rd, 2022, and glad to have you with us. We are in Lincoln County, up in north central Wisconsin, and we're going to be here for our next 3 virtual education programs, as we are going to be treated to a very special 3-part series that starts this evening. We are going to get an inside look at the railroad collection in Merrill here in Lincoln County that belongs to 98-year-old Ralph Wehlitz. He has one of the largest and most extensive memorabilia and model railroad collections in the state of Wisconsin, and he agreed to give us a very in-depth and exciting look at his railroad collection. So we're going to break this up into a 3-part series here in late January, and then our 2 programs coming up in February 2022 will also be part 2 and 3 of this series. So without further ado, let's send it over to Ralph, who's going to take you an exclusive look at some of the exciting railroad memorabilia down in his basement.
And this is a painting of the station in Mellon. I taught in Mellon for a number of years, and Mellon, of course, is in the Lake Superior snow belt, so when we got snowstorms up there, they were pretty good ones. And one, I think it was a January day, we had to close the schools because of a heavy snowstorm. And the next day, school is closed, and the storm has cleared out. It's a bright, sunny, cloudless day with very low temperatures and a brisk wind, as you tended to get after a snowstorm cleared out. But I'm eating lunch and I hear the whistle of the train. So I grab my camera and go down to the depot, try to get some pictures of the train coming in on this cold day. The train normally came in at 8 o'clock in the morning, the passenger train, but on this day it's coming in about 4 hours late. And I get down to the depot and see that, in fact, they have 2 locomotives on the train, which would be very unusual for double-heading that passenger train, which was only 4 or 5 cars.
Was that 2 steam engines then, actually?
Oh, yes.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yes, two Soo Line Pacific type locomotives.
Wow.
As I looked at them, and they're stopping to take water, so I have a little time there, and They're heavily encrusted with ice and snow, icicles hanging off the running boards and in various places, and snow and ice heavily covering the locomotive quite a bit. Uh, so, some years later, my wife says to me, we really should contact Russ Porter and have him do a painting for us. Russ Porter was a very popular, highly regarded railroad and steamboat painter of many pictures of many different kinds of that sort. So I talked to Russ Porter, and he said he'd be interested in doing the painting. So we cast about for a subject for the painting. Well, I finally decided, well, a train at Mellon coming in all snow covered, that ought to make kind of a dramatic picture, a good subject for a painting. Russ Porter said that was a great idea. He'd like to do a painting like that. So I gave him some pictures. We got some deep information on the depot, some early pictures, so we could get that accurately reproduced. And he went to work on the painting. And as it progressed, he said, I just couldn't cover that locomotive with all that ice and snow, so there isn't going to be much of it on there. And of course, there isn't. But he managed to get a little bit of the effect there of the snowy landscape and the snowy condition of the train. But
I'm trying to see, does he have two steam engines there? Or is
there are two steam engines. Yes, there are.
So how did you take this photograph that, or did he do this from a memory, or how did he do this?
I had, I think about 4 different slides of the train at Mellon. I have one or two with it taking water, and 1 or 2 back farther at the depot. I think I have one which was just the second engine. But
wow! So you gave him the slides to do this photo on?
He had the color slides.
Okay.
And I don't know, did we make large prints? I don't think we did. I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
But he kind of combined the ideas of several different slides to come up with this picture.
Wow.
None of the slides was anything like a view of the train from this side. As a matter of fact, I only shot from the other side of the track, which was the sunny side of the train. The train here is heading northeast, and it's about noon.
Wow! And is this has he done duplicates of this photo, or is this one of a kind, a Russ Porter a painting, or has he done more of these?
It's an original painting, and I don't know that he ever did any others.
Okay.
Including Mellon.
Yeah.
The Sioux Line Historical Society did have some prints made.
Oh, they did. Oh, they did.
And I believe they still have prints for sale.
Oh, okay. But this is the original here in your.
Oh yes, this is the original oil painting.
Wow, very cool.
I don't know that Russ dated this or not.
Let's see.
Did he put a date on there?
Looks like 1974.
74.
Yeah. Wow.
Didn't realize it was that long ago.
Very cool. And then you have some other paintings in going downstairs too. Would you mind showing us those?
Yes, all right. Let's take a
wherever you want to go. We'll go with you here. Okay. All right. So what are we? Tons of stuff here to look at.
I started teaching in Merrill here in 1954, and I think that year, or maybe a year or two later, I saw this painting or it's a reproduction, it's a print of a painting, next to the trash barrel in the junior high where I was teaching.
Oh.
And some teacher had decided to throw it out. And well, I thought, well, that looked kind of interesting. I looked at it, and then I saw a little bronze or little brass plaque at the bottom of the painting, which said, "Along the Santa Fe Railroad."
Oh.
Well, if it had a railroad connection, I was more interested in it, so I decided I couldn't let that go to the trash. This is a Thomas Moran print of a Thomas Moran painting. He was one of the Hudson River School painters, landscape painters primarily, and he specialized in paintings in the West, the Rocky Mountains, that area. He was, as I say, one of the Hudson River painters. Bierstadt was another. Thomas Cole. Richard Church. Other painters of that genre. Also, I have a station order board or station train board here.
Oh,
this came out of the Merrill Depot, but I believe it had been in some other depots prior to that. And this is exactly the way it was in the depot. Those little Milwaukee Road Heralds were on there. They were very badly faded, but they were that way when I got it. And that large piece of paper tacked on there once had some writing on it, but that has since faded, and I haven't really done anything to that.
Wow. How did you get it out of there? Or was it given to you? Or
yeah, it was given to me.
Okay.
Yeah. They were closing the depot, and nice. they gave me that station train board.
Wow. Right place at the right time, I guess, huh?
Yeah, I've
said Ralph. Wow.
Fortunate that way a number of times.
Yeah. All right. What else do you want to show us?
Well,
I guess we'll just follow you down the stairs
right.
and let you show what you want to show here.
Most of the signs here on my right are reproductions,
including the railroad crossbucks that we see.
Well,
here.
That's an original. Of
course. That is.
Oh yeah.
Any idea where that was from?
No, I don't know.
Okay.
That
is cool.
Remember.
I like that though.
I don't remember.
Okay.
Where or how I got that. The dining car card is an original.
Oh, dining car. We're going in the wrong direction if we want supper tonight.
Right. This is an original out of a Pullman car. What it is of little significance.
Okay.
Not exactly a prized possession, but I tend to latch on to anything that looks railroady.
Yeah.
Over here on the left are some things kind of interesting. That little brass plaque at the top there was on a Pullman sleeping car, noting the patent dates for the patented vestibule that was on the car.
I presume that's 1887, 88, 89.
Yes, 18 was it 87? I thought it was earlier than that.
1887, 1888, and 1889. Yeah.
We thought that might be a plate for the early narrow vestibule, which were the first vestibules put on cars. They didn't cover the step area of the car. That came later when they came out of full width vestibules. But in any case, this is an early Pullman vestibule patent plate. Below that is a number plate off of a Sioux Line consolidation type locomotive tender. I think it specifies the capacity of the tender. I don't remember now. Yeah. So it has a tender number, and that would appeared low on the frame on the tender. And then there's also a plate for some air conditioning equipment on the car. I think today they probably wouldn't use cast brass plates for putting that kind of information on a railroad car.
I think I have to agree with you, Ralph.
They did that at one time.
Very cool. Wow. All right.
I don't know if you can capture this long framed.
Yeah, let me try to get down
here.
I think we can.
That came out of a Duluth, Wasabi and Iron Range baggage car.
Oh.
And it's a schedule of the telegraph lines along the railroad indicating where you can connect to make an emergency contact with telegraph, with a telegraph station. If your train is stopped in an emergency situation and you're not near a station, you can climb a pole and connect wires to the telegraph.
Oh yeah, I see two harbors there, and then down to Knife River, and then finally Duluth. So the way the North Shore Scenic Railroad runs today, I guess. Very cool.
Then lower down here, we have a couple of trust plates. Again, it's kind of information you put on a car indicating the ownership of the car, but it's done in cast iron plates. I think in later years it was just a stencil painted on the side of the car.
I think you're right. Yeah. Wow.
I believe they were both off the Chicago Northwestern.
Okay.
I know the green one was. I think the red one was off of a box car.
Okay.
I'm not certain of that anymore. Tools for working on the railroad. This is a tongs for carrying it's a rail tongs.
Oh.
You lift up on this handle and this closes in around the railhead. So the crew there'd probably be several teams of men with handles like that to lift a 39-foot length of rail. And this is a shop wrench. I don't remember whether this one is marked. I think it is not. But not something for working on your alarm clock. And we have a brake wheel here, vertical brake wheel. They were in time replaced with horizontal brake wheels mounted on the ends of the cars, but all of that has been removed now, and you don't go up to the top of a boxcar anymore.
No.
And this is a brake shoe, which seemed to have been having some pretty hard applications because the face of it is all broken up into little pieces. So it was probably badly overheated in some emergency brake application.
Oh.
Or maybe something was wrong with the brakes and they stuck, and the engineer ran his locomotive. I believe this is off of a locomotive. And in any case, the brake shoe was obviously overheated.
How about the Milwaukee Road logo up there? Is that original off from?
Oh yes,
Do you know where that's
that
from?
was off of I think it was off of a truck of some kind.
Oh, okay.
It was off of a vehicle. But I don't remember what the vehicle was.
Okay. Well, this is one of my favorite things here that I've noticed. The having a father who grew up in Lake Forest and a mother who grew up in Evanston in the 1940s. This is, I think, one of my favorite things in your collection was this Northwestern Limited. And
do you know where this would have been?
Oh, you're gonna try to stump the host. Well, I'd say maybe St. Paul.
I'm sure
Am I
it was
right?
St. Paul.
You think so?
Yes,
St.
that's where
Paul?
it came from. St. Paul Union Depot.
I'm guessing the Eau Claire and Adams and South Beaver Dam is
This
kind
is
of
the obvious route of the Northwestern Limited from Minneapolis to Chicago. And these are the stops it would have made.
Do you think, was this like a banner that they would kind of hook up when the train arrived, or was departing? Or
The large passenger terminals had stands next to the gates that went to various tracks. And that stand would have a number of signs like this. This is on cloth. It was on a roller like a window shade.
Oh.
And when it was when the next train out on that track would be the Northwestern Limited, this thing would be pulled down like a window shade so it could be seen. When the train leaves, this is run up again and maybe some other one pulled down. There would be several of those on rollers at the top of these large stands next to the train gates.
Versus I guess the signboards like you've seen where they slide the cities in, and that's interesting. Just a different way to do it, I guess.
I think this was a pretty common practice in earlier years.
Okay.
I guess a framed mirror isn't all that exciting, but this one is interesting, and it took me a while to realize it, but looking at this one day, I began to look at the back and examine it more closely, and I realized this is made of one piece of wood.
The whole thing?
The whole thing is one piece of wood.
How about that?
And this appears to be hand carving down at the base of the mirror.
And this was off a train?
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay.
This would have been between the windows.
Oh, okay.
On a sleeping car. There's a hole here where there would probably have been a button to ring a buzzer in the porters. Quarters.
Okay.
So if you want to call the porter, for example, if you're seated in your coach seat or Pullman car seats and you decide it's time to go to bed, you call the porter and he makes up the beds for you in your section so that you can then go to bed.
Built into the mirror. That's pretty neat. All right, what's next?
Well, let's see. This is an important piece of railroad equipment.
The broom.
A broom. Now, it's not an ordinary broom, and we know that it was used for a special purpose by looking at the end of the handle, and we see this little chisel-like piece of metal here, and we know that this is a switch broom. It would be hung on a post, usually hung upside down, so you can just have a couple of nails in the post and it'll hang on it. And it was next to a switch in an area where the switch is likely to be contaminated by a lot of snow on it, and snow can be compacted into ice, and ice can derail a train if it's in the switch.
Yeah.
Or make the switch impossible to throw properly.
Any idea what railroad or?
Yes, I do know what railroad. It is stamped on the handle here somewhere. IC.
Oh, okay.
For Illinois Central.
Sure. How about the Sioux Line?
That was
logo
given to me by a man. I was on the archives committee, and we used to work at Larry Easton's basement periodically, and I just said casually one time, I'd really like to get one of those red, white, and blue metal signs off that were on all the depots, many of them. And one fellow said, "Oh, I've got one. Would you like to have it?"
Wow.
Well, yes, I would like to have it. And so
nice.
He, at the next meeting, he had that sign, and I have been keeping it here happily ever since.
And of course, you have your is that a depot clock I hear? Is that a?
As a matter of fact, no.
No.
Well,
you tell me. Look, we'll just.
It looks enough like a depot clock to pass for one, but actually, it's out of a schoolhouse.
Okay.
I I had been teaching in Mellon, and in Mellon, all the grades from kindergarten through high school were in one building, which was built about 1913. And when I left Mellon in 1954, summer of 54, for some reason I wandered over to the school one day before we left, and happened to wander into the boiler room. And there was a stack of, probably 20 or more clocks like this.
Oh, wow.
The school had finally gotten around to replacing their mechanical wind-up clocks with electric clocks.
Oh, wow.
And so they were throwing all of those clocks away. They were trash, junk, get rid of it. And so I took this, a couple of them. In fact, I took 3 or 4 of them. Remember, I gave one to a friend who lives in Madison, and I have one operating in the kitchen, and then I have this one down here.
Wow. Well, then you have a semaphore there.
Yes.
There's got to be a story behind that, right?
I bought that from the Northern Pacific Railroad. I'd been over there. I'd heard that they were selling some of their passenger car furnishings, and I went over there to buy a couple of chairs. I'll show you 1 or 2 of those later. But we went over and we negotiated for the chairs, and then I noticed there was an area where all kinds of signaling equipment, semaphores and related equipment, were all laid neatly out in an area that apparently was where the signal maintainer kept all of his equipment and parts. And I said, could I buy one of those semaphores? Well, no, you can't, was the answer. So,
yeah.
I said, well, why can't I buy that? I'd really like to have that, and you aren't going to use those semaphores anymore. You're converting to electric light signals. Well, no, you can't have that. That isn't for sale. Well, we talked and argued, and I said, you really could part with that. I don't know why you couldn't let me have that. And I had a friend with me, and we picked the thing up and held it and said, here, we could just take this. We'd be happy to buy this from you. Well, then he begins to weaken a little bit, and we keep talking, and eventually we're walking back toward my car, and we're carrying it, and he said, well, how much does it weigh? And we told him, and he mentally figured what the cast iron or steel was worth, and he said, well, $1.50. So
$1.50, and you have your own semaphore.
I bought the semaphore. Well, I repainted it. And it was
it's beautiful.
Pretty grubby looking when I got it. I even have one of these, which would be carried on the tender of a locomotive. It's a coal pick to break up lumps of coal.
Okay.
If they're too big to throw into the firebox. And there's a tie tongs here. Kind of like the thing the Iceman used to carry when he brought fresh ice to your home. And this thing is a car mover. You place it on the rail, and you shove the end of it under the wheel of a car as far as it'll go. Then you pull the lever down, and there's a little foot that rises, which will nudge the car rolling, the car rolling a little bit. So if a man wants to move a boxcar and he doesn't have a locomotive handy, he can move it by hand. Nice. You wouldn't want to go very far that way, but you could move a car.
In a pinch, yeah.
This strange-looking contraption is a rail drill.
Oh.
It's for drilling holes in a rail if you want to put a plate against it to join it to another piece of rail. You drill holes in near the end of each rail, put bolts through the holes
Hmm.
through this plate, and that bolts the whole thing to make a continuous track.
Hmm.
I'm sure they're not easy to work. Rails are made of pretty hard steel,
Yeah.
and the fact that there's a handle on each side suggests that it took 2 men to work one of these things. But you could drill a hole in a rail with that. I don't know how long it would take, but probably a good while. Somebody gave me this lamp, and I think it's stamped. I think it's stamped or dated or marked some way. I think it's Canadian National, if I remember correctly.
Kerosene.
Yeah, it's a
lantern.
oil lamp.
Yeah.
It should have a chimney on it. And what else it had, I don't know. This is what somebody had, and they.
Yeah.
It drops over the burner. Yeah. Well, we can fuss with that another time.
Okay. You have a train another train bulletin.
Yeah, another train
Where is
bulletin
that
board.
from? I don't see any logos.
I don't remember where that one is
Just
from.
a generic one. Okay.
One's kind of in the shadow here. I forget it's there.
Well, got some goodies on the table.
This is a ladder, obviously.
Is it for a sleeping car berth, maybe?
It is a sleeping car Pullman ladder, yes.
Wow.
For getting to an upper berth. That was the problem with upper berths in open section cars. You needed a ladder to get into the berth, and the ladder was taken away after you were in the berth. And if you wanted to get up during the night, or even get up the next morning, you had to press a buzzer to call the porter to come and bring the ladder. So
really, I didn't know. So it's not like the Amtrak bedrooms today that have the where they just leave the ladder all night in the rooms.
Oh, if it's in a compartment, yeah.
Yeah, this is in the hall, in the sections, and the.
These were open sections. They were covered on the aisle side with a curtain.
Okay.
You could draw the curtain when you were.
And I guess that would stick out too much in the hallway then, right?
Yeah.
So you'd have to.
They wouldn't have ladders all along the.
So 2 a.m, you got to use the bathroom. You got to wake or call the porter.
Call the porter to bring the ladder.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And
Maybe
you.
I'd feel bad about doing that.
You got into the berth, and you undressed when you were in bed, essentially.
Oh.
So it was awkward.
It is, yeah.
The open sections began to disappear in the 30s, and as cars went more to compartments, and people didn't much care for open berths anymore.
Yeah.
There's a wheel from a section car. And
Do you know what railroad that was from?
I don't remember where that came from. I think I found it on a trash heap.
Oh.
And brought it home, and it's here.
Okay.
This is a brake wheel, which I'm using as kind of a.
That's cool. That's one of the coolest tables I've seen.
I have timetables on here now, and also a Sioux Line brakeman's hat.
Oh.
Sioux Line didn't operate a great many passenger trains, so there aren't a lot of these floating around for Sioux Line.
Do you know what city or where that might have come off of?
No.
Somewhere in Wisconsin, I'd imagine here.
I think I was given this by Fran Wiener,
and
who worked for the Sioux Line over at Fond du Lac, Fond du Lac.
Okay.
But this brake wheel, like that sign we were looking at, came out of a DMIR baggage car number 10. It was on the inside of the car. The baggage car had a brake wheel inside and outside on the same shaft.
Very cool.
Well, I suppose we could look at some of the stuff over here too.
Okay.
Right here is a link and pin coupler. This is the type of coupler that was in general use in the 1800s until the late 1800s, when the Janney Coupler, which was a knuckle coupler, was developed, and they began to apply it. First the passenger cars, then later the freight cars, replacing this type of coupler. Problem with this coupler was that when you brought two cars together, this had to be held up so that it would go into the jaw on the other car, so that the pin could be dropped through the hole and through the link to secure the two cars together. The brakeman was supposed to use a stick to hold that pin up, that link. But of course, the brakeman always said, I don't need that stick. I can do it.
Yeah.
And that's why so many brakemen were walking around with missing fingers.
Oh.
Or hands.
It seems like you have a little history on this on the tag you found on Section 18 in the town of Morris.
Yeah, this came from, I've got it in an antique shop. It came from the Whitcomb and Morris, which was a little logging railroad running from near Tigerton northeast up to a place on what is now Highway 29. Was not a very long line. How
about this switch here? Is that any history of that?
Oh,
well, that's kind of it's lurking in the shadows. It's creating a shadow on you. So it wants you to talk about it. I guess.
Yes. This is a switch off of the Sioux line.
Okay.
The target.
That's interesting.
Thing on the top, called a target. There would normally be a lantern on the top here.
Oh.
I don't have enough clearance to put a lantern there, so I don't have one there.
Yeah.
But switch is normally locked, and if you take off the lock, you can then lift up the handle and move that. And change the aspect.
Oh, look at that.
This turns 90 degrees. And it depends upon just where the track is running in relation to the switch stand. Well, the switch, of course, is standing where one track is joining another. And one track will be the more important through track, and the other is a diverging track, usually into a siding of some kind. If the switch is lined for the through track, the main track, the more important track, then this target is in line with it, so you don't see it. You're only seeing it from the edge.
So this kind of, if they saw this, it would kind of saying, "Hey, stop."
Well, it simply warns you that the track is going. The switch is lined for the track that's going off on the siding.
Okay.
We're taking the secondary route. And of course, if you're coming from the frog end of the switch rather than the point end, you see that, and you know that the switch is set against you, and if you don't stop, you may derail your train. So, So you get some pretty important information off of that target if you're alert and see it. And if you're an alert engineer, you'll be always watching for things like that. Some odds and ends here. Date nails. when they replaced the tie in the track, they would usually put a nail into that tie. And this is a whole bunch of them. They're dated with the year.
That would be the year that they were put in. So
Yeah.
like the one we're looking at, 38. So that would have been probably 1938, I would presume.
Yes, 1938.
And
yes.
then 39, 40, 41, 42. So during World War II. Wow. Do you know what railroad those were off of?
No, they're probably Milwaukee.
Milwaukee Railroad.
But I'm not certain about that. And
okay.
off on a branch line of the Northern Pacific Railroad, I found this. This was in a tie. And for some reason or other, 2 nails got stuck in it.
So what year? So 09
and 08.
And 08.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
that's pretty cool. I don't know if I've ever seen something like that.
That's pretty old. And this is a piece of a tie. Obviously, the tie had been in a fire. The top is all charred.
Mm-hmm.
And so the tie was kind of rotten, so I was able to just break out that piece of it.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Couple switch locks there.
Yeah. Yes. Switch lock, and I guess this is probably a nail type of spike. Well, I don't know what to call it. Nail to use on bridge timbers, holding them together.
Oh, okay.
Probably. I'm not certain about
What are these? Is that a 0 or is that just...
Yes, it's a 0.
And you have a whole bunch of zeros.
No, they're not all zeros.
Oh.
The numbers increase to the middle one, and then they decrease to the other one, end one, which is a 0.
What are those for? I don't know if I've ever seen those.
Hardly anybody knows what those are until they're explained.
Okay.
And I don't know that anybody has actually been able to identify them when they came down here and first looked at them. These are spiked onto a railroad tie.
Okay.
They'll be in the middle of the tie, and there'll be one with a 0, and then they will, if you have a complete set, they will probably change by a quarter, 1 quarter, 1/2, 3/4, 1, 1.5, so on, and get up to maybe 2 or 3, and then decrease again. Maybe not even that high a number. They are markers of the degree of, or not degree, but probably fractional inches of the super elevation of one rail over the other on a curve.
Oh.
The railroad tracks are banked on a curve.
Okay.
So that the train will tend to lean toward the inside of the curve.
So 3.5 there. Very cool.
So that could very well have been the highest one. I don't know that this set is necessarily complete. It probably isn't. I don't remember. I got this on the Valley Line. I think I pulled all these up myself. I think I can remember. Somewhere up in the Harshaw area, I believe. All right, we have a wide variety of stuff.
Those were pretty cool. Thanks for showing us all that.
Some things are of little consequence. This glass jar is a battery.
A battery?
It's a battery.
How is that a battery?
You put a claw-shaped thing of copper at the bottom or the top, I don't remember which, and you put another similar device at the top of zinc, and you fill it with water and this bottle of sulfuric acid. I think it's or was it hydrochloric? I'm not sure now. I think it was sulfuric. And when you've got the copper and the zinc in a bath of acidic water, it develops a current, flows from one electrode to the other, copper to zinc, or the other way around. I'm not sure about that.
So I should have paid more attention in my high school chemistry class. Is what this basically boils down to.
This is the cover, and here you have a hole where the leads can come out for those two electrodes.
Okay.
And across those two, you have a current.
Wow.
And that's the way most early telegraph systems were operated, with batteries like that.
So it was for telegraph. Ah. Well, I've noticed above you here is not only do you have the insulator caps, which a lot of people collect, you have a whole pole and
a wire.
Is this can you send a telegraph to someone in the bathroom upstairs or the kitchen? Bring me some food. Do you actually have it wired up? Oh no.
We'll see.
Oh no. Oh wow.
I've tried to reproduce 2 telegraph stations.
Oh my gosh.
And each one is complete with a sounder and a key and a relay.
Oh wow. Unbelievable. So what was the message we heard? What do you know what that was?
No, it was just noise.
Oh, okay. You weren't sending out an SOS like
No.
Okay.
Would you recognize an SOS if you heard it?
Is it long, short, long, something like that?
Yeah, it's
something like that. I don't know. Okay. I don't know.
This thing isn't always.
Well, let's stay here and watch this.
Best it should. Let's see. I got too many clicks in there. It should be. They're coming too fast. It's.
Wow.
It's 3 dots, 3 longs, and then 3 dots.
Okay.
Again.
Wow. And what railroad is all this from? Or is it?
That pole I found up at Bayfield.
Oh.
So that would have been a branch of the Northwestern that went up along that
Sure.
line. And the thing that has always amazed me about telegraph is that it was a single wire system.
Yeah.
And with an earth ground. And you run one wire from New York to Washington, and you stick the other pole of from your battery into the ground, just into the ground at each end, and you got a circuit.
Yeah.
I can't believe it. I can't believe that would work, but that's the way the system works.
It was, yeah.
At least everybody tells me that absolutely that was the system.
Yeah.
An earth ground.
That's true.
And that was why you needed the relay, because the relay is powered by the battery in your own depot. The sounder, excuse me. Well, the relay gets the signal off the wire.
Uh-huh.
But if it's a rainy day, that signal in the wire could get very, very weak.
Okay.
Because rain running around over the insulators tends to short out some of the signal.
Ah.
Or even dampness, humidity will tend to affect that. Lots of things will affect the strength of signal in the wire. So you have a relay which can pick up a very, very weak signal and then send a stronger signal to the sounder in your station.
Okay.
By using the power from your own battery.
Interesting. This is pretty cool. It looks like a I Dream of Jeannie lamp. No?
This?
Yeah. A horn.
It is a finial.
Oh.
Do you know what a finial is?
Finial. Is that something for water? No. So if I rub this, the genie's not going to come out.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Finials are the caps on top of poles or towers.
Oh. Oh, okay. I didn't know that's what they were called.
They're called finials. And this is one.
Ah.
Any idea what that might be?
Is that magnetic? Rain gauge? Or
Much less practical than that.
paperweight?
No, it's
I'm
decorative.
trying.
It's decorative.
Uh-huh. I give up.
It's in the dining car,
Oh, for flowers.
of course. It's a
Very
bud vase.
fancy. Oh. We don't have that, and we don't have flowers in the dining car anymore. I think that went out about 10 years ago on Amtrak.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, you might want to
It would be, it's a
introduce
nice
that
touch.
idea.
We do like our flowers in the dining car.
Yeah, adds a touch of elegance.
It is nice.
So what's this?
Oh, that would be a stationary set off the Pennsylvania, and maybe one of your sleeping cars you want to write a letter back home. No. Well, I got the Pennsylvania part right, don't I?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, it was on the Pennsylvania,
All right.
but it wasn't in the sleeping car.
Was it conductors
No, it was in the dining car.
to take orders?
Well, what's this?
Oh. For menu?
Of course,
Yeah.
menu holder.
Oh.
Be one on every table.
With a pen and pencil?
Why would there be pencils with the menu?
You didn't fill out the little bubbles, right?
In the earlier years of dining cars,
Mm-hmm.
the waiters were often illiterate.
Really?
And so you wrote out the menu yourself.
Really? Wow.
Handed it to the waiter. The
Okay.
waiter would hand it to the dining car steward. He
Oh.
would hand it to somebody in the galley, and they prepare the meal.
So they would just collect whatever you...
Yeah.
Would you circle it, or were there little bubbles, or like how would you...
As I recall, you simply wrote out one coffee.
Oh, you would actually write your whole order.
You would write your.
It wasn't like you'd just fill in
No,
the
it wasn't a
bubble
checklist.
comment.
It
Oh,
was-
okay.
You'd write out what you
Really,
wanted.
what you just wanted, and then
Yeah.
interesting. Well, let's see. I guess keep working our way down here.
Well, this is the telegraph stuff. This is the relay. There's a key here, and the sounder.
Yeah.
And this was my first railroad acquisition.
Oh, that's what you told us about last time in the last
yeah.
video clip. Wow. And for those who don't remember, what was the... just briefly recap your story if you don't want, for those who maybe didn't see the last
I've been model railroading for a number of years, and at one point in time I thought, well, it'd be nice to have something of a real railroad.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm in an antique shop, and I see that they're selling these lanterns. And they've been electrified, so they don't have an oil font anymore.
Yeah.
And somebody put gold paint on it. I guess they thought that would make it look pretty.
Oh, okay.
So, and it wasn't very. I may have paid as much as $5 for it, but probably less.
Yeah, those are like $300 now.
Yeah. Well, they've gone up a bit.
Just a little, yeah. I just bought a few myself.
Are you a lantern collector?
No, I just got into it a couple weeks ago, or a couple months ago when we were in Mount Pleasant, checking out some stuff for the Zephyr, and they had about 500 lanterns some guy had in the antique shop. And I said, oh, I'll go grab a Northwestern and a Burlington,
Which Mount Pleasant?
Iowa.
Oh, sure.
With a Zephyr. They had some Burlington memorabilia. So I only have 2 so far. We'll see.
Yeah, you can go crazy with those.
You can. That's a whole sub hobby of memorabilia collecting. That's for sure. So we have Irma. That's the station plate, Irma?
Yes, it was. It's first station north of Merrill.
Oh, okay.
Nothing there anymore.
Milwaukee
But
Road, I presume?
Milwaukee Road,
Yeah.
yes. Yes. A farmer in town, in the area, bought the Irma Depot after it was closed
Mm-hmm.
to dismantle it
Oh,
for the lumber.
okay.
He was a farmer, and I don't know, he wanted to use the lumber for outbuildings or something.
Mm-hmm.
But as he's dismantling the building, he has a sign, and he has an aunt or some relative named Irma. So he said, well, it'd be nice to keep that. So I
Oh,
keep
okay.
that. Well, he tucks it away in his barn, and the son of a friend of mine went to work for this farmer one summer and reported to his father that this farmer in the barn, he's got this old sign for Irma.
Mm-hmm.
And he thinks that's curious, I guess, or interesting. And the father says, well, I know somebody who would really be interested in that sign. So
Mm-hmm.
he calls me and tells me and says that this farmer has this sign. He might be willing to part with it. Why don't you give him a call?
Mm-hmm.
So I gave him a call, and he was willing to part with it for no charge whatsoever.
Ah.
He didn't need it anymore. Yeah, you can have it. So I have it, and
Nice.
that's why I have the sign for the Irma Depot.
Wow.
People have asked me about that dot at the end of the word, and
Oh.
I have no explanation for that.
I've seen that at other depot.
It was common practice at one
Yeah.
time to put a period at the end of a single word. Northern Pacific locomotives, the tenders would be lettered Northern Pacific and then a period at the end of the word Pacific. Why that? What the purpose of that practice was, I have no idea. I've never found anybody that knew anything about that.
Well, if anybody watching this video knows, maybe let Ralph know.
Somebody.
There's got to be somebody out there who knows, some rail fan who knows. So what do we have
This
here?
thing is an order board signal.
Okay.
You have to imagine the wall behind it as the face of a depot, the front of a depot,
Okay.
with the depot agent's office behind it.
Mm-hmm.
The track is running past the sign this way. And in fact, under normal conditions, he doesn't see this paddle at all.
Mm-hmm.
He's looking at just the edge of it.
Mm-hmm.
However, the agent is sitting at his telegraph and he gets a message for that train.
Mm-hmm.
He writes it out on a proper form, and then he does this.
Oh.
And the train now sees the signal,
Mm-hmm.
and it means stop. And so the train stops, and the engineer or the conductor, somebody gets the order from the
Mm-hmm.
station agent. There were lots of these on lots of depots at one time. The Sioux Line used this type of order board signal.
Mm-hmm.
Milwaukee didn't. But I and a friend from Madison was visiting, and we were over along the what had been the Wisconsin and Northern Railroad, later became part of the Sioux Line. We were over at the station White Lake,
Mm-hmm.
and we stopped in there and visited with the agent who I had talked with a number of times previously, and we were friends to some extent.
Mm-hmm.
At least he knew who I was and didn't mind my coming and visiting with him.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, at one time I fixed up a little HO scale observation car, Pullman observation car, and I repainted it and lettered it with his name instead of the name that he put
nice.
on there. and I mounted it on a little piece of track, and he was very pleased at that. We were friends.
Mm-hmm.
And so the fellow that was with me said, "Whatever became of all those orderboard signals that were on the depots up and down this line?" And he said, "Well, got a couple of them in the back room. You want them?"
Oh,
So we each went home with an orderboard signal like this. I
nice.
did a lot of cleaning up on it and
Yeah.
cleaning. This thing has a patent date, which, if I remember correctly, is about 1872.
Wow.
So it's a type of orderboard signal that was around for a long time. And so this is probably well over 100 years old.
Hmm.
Well, that was Wisconsin Northern, you said?
Wisconsin and Northern, yes.
Where did they run?
Appleton north to, what was the other end of the line?
Argonne? Up through,
Willie wrote a book about it, and I've got the book somewhere.
is that the one that runs up towards, oh heck.
I think in 1922 or thereabouts, it became Sioux Line.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us for part one of a look at Ralph Wehllitz's extensive railroad memorabilia collection here in central Wisconsin.
He's got some pretty cool stuff so far.
Do you think I could bring some of that home to our basement?
Maybe not.
We don't want to mess with Ralph's collection,
Well,
but
that's right.
but he's got some pretty cool stuff. And as we mentioned, we decided to break this up into 3 different parts. So we aired part 1 tonight, and then we'll come back in 2 weeks here with part 2. And when is that?
That is going to be
Yeah,
February 6th.
February 6th. We'll have the second part, followed by February 20th. We'll have the third and final part. So I hope you enjoyed this. First time we're doing a 3-parter with our virtual programs, but Ralph has so much cool stuff and so many cool stories. We hope you agree, and we hope to see you back here in 2 weeks, February 6th, 2022, with
That's
a
right,
look
part
at
2.
Yes, a look at Ralph's collection. On behalf of the Midwest Rail Rangers, thank you so much for joining us for this program. Here's a look at the next program. Make sure you mark your calendar for this, and we look forward to seeing you then. In the meanwhile, if you're planning an Amtrak trip, don't forget about one of our exciting and interesting rail route guides. For more information, go to www.railrangers.org. That's www.railrangers.org, and click on the Rail Rangers store. There are plenty of options for both local and long-distance rail route guides, in traditional book format, PDF ebook, and even MP3 podcasts. Until we gather together next month, the first Sunday of every month at 7 p.m. Central Time, we hope you have a great week and a great month ahead, and come out and join us on one of our onboard educational programs. For a listing of our in-person programs, go to our website. Again, that's www.railrangers.org, and click on upcoming events. Until next month, we'll see you then.